Sponge filters, the most cost-efficient filter for any aquarium. We're at April's Aquarium today, and we're going to show you how to set one up and just exactly how sponge filters work.
Welcome to Friday Fish Facts. I'm your host, Ron DeSantis. We're back at April's Aquarium, and we're going to show you how to use a sponge filter. We've got Jacob here. Jacob is going to take us through how to use a sponge filter on our table right over here. So without further ado, Jacob, let's get into this.
Sounds good.
Okay, so before we get into this video, I just want to apologize. We are wearing masks, so some of the audio may not be very clear. I just want to apologize. We're doing the best that we can with it. All right, let's get into this.
Sounds good.
Okay, Jacob, what are the things that we need if we want to have a sponge filter at home?
So for the bare minimums of a sponge filter, you need at least 3 components. You'll need the sponge filter itself, which will come with an uplift tube, some airline hosing, and an air pump.
Okay, so how a sponge filter works is, we've got our sponge filter here, and we're going to be pumping the air down through the top here. As the air comes down here, as we take this thing apart, we can take it apart. As the air comes down, the bubbles shoot back up. As the bubbles are shooting up, it's also sucking water into the sponge, catching debris in there.
So to start out with setting up a sponge filter, you'll start with the uplift tube. You'll run your airline hosing through it, and then take the airline hosing and plug it right into the sponge filter.
Sometimes it takes me like 10 minutes to get these things on. But it's good because if it's nice and tight like that, if it's hard to get on, then that means it's gonna be hard to come off, which is what you want.
The next step is to take your airline or your uplift tube, bring it up your airline hose to the top of the sponge filter, plug it in. This will create lots of uplift, allowing more water to be pulled through the sponge. The next step is to move on to your air pump. You'll take the other end of the airline hosing and plug it in there. You will then put this in your aquarium, plug your air pump into the wall, then you're good to go.
So the one drawback of these is the unsightliness of them, but we like to put them just in the back corner of one of our tanks.
Sponge filters are a really great option for many species such as shrimp. It allows them to eat off of all the surface area. Any algae that grows on there or any other extra food that gets pulled to the sponge filter, it's really great for them. Another great thing is for fry, as they can't get sucked up by it like other types of filters.
Yeah, like the hang on backs.
So this is a Tvalve. It's really great for running multiple sponge filters off of one pump. It's really simple to use. All you'll do is you will take some scissors, you'll cut your airline tubing, you'll plug one end into one sponge filter, one end into your pump, and then it leaves the third end free to plug into another sponge filter or an air stone.
Okay, so if you want to soup up your sponge filter, you can add an air stone. Now, how are you going to add an air stone to this sponge filter? You're going to take it apart, and you can take the tubing, and you can slide the tubing in just beside it. And this black wheel on the end, what you'll need to do is you'll need to take your scissors, and you'll need to cut that black wheel out, slide the tube all the way through, hook up the air stone, and put it back in. So then the air stone will sit inside this. Now that's one way to do it. You can also cut that black wheel out there, take a little bit of tube, attach the tube to the other end of that wheel, and then the air stone that way. And then you put it all back in.
So check valves are a really great option to prevent water coming from your sponge filter up your airline hosing back into your air pump in the event of a power outage or if your pump stops working for whatever reason. It's essentially a one-way valve that only allows air to go in one way and nothing to come back the other way. So one great thing about sponge filters is that it doubles as both mechanical and biological filtration. The suction pulls the water through, but it also pulls debris into the sponge that allows it to pull any particulates out of the water. So running 2 sponge filters in the tank's always a great idea, because not only does it provide extra filtration, It's in the event that you get another tank, you're able to pull one of those sponge filters out and put it into your new tank to provide an instant cycle, as it's the sponge filter that holds all of your beneficial bacteria in it, which allows your tank to process ammonia and nitrites right off the bat.
So you might notice that this store is completely run on sponge filters. They only have 3 pumps though, so let's see how that works.
So our pumps run up here. These run all of our tanks. We've got 3 big ones. They come down onto splitters that we can control the pressure for each tank. And then they all plug into PVC, so we can run them throughout the whole store.
Let's come over here and have a look. Let's have a look at this PVC. Right in there. So you've got like, you tap into the PVC just like a fish room, and then they go into each of the sponge filters?
Yeah.
I want to thank Jacob and Jared for helping us out today with sponge filters. Guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Join me next week for another edition of Friday Fish Facts.